You're listening to Real Estate Radio Northwest on Money Radio 1300 KKOL. Now, live in studio, your hosts, Neal and Shelley Dudley.
Hi, friends in Seattle, Bellevue, Kirkland, all the way up to Everett, all the way down to Tacoma. Did I get that right? No, it's the other way around.
No,
I always do that.
You were right the first time.
Which way's Canada?
North, up.
So that's Everett. Up to
Yes.
Everett. Yeah, I got it right. Okay. I get those mixed up. This is Neal with Real Estate Radio Northwest. We got a full house today. It's going to be really fun.
We do. It's a zoo today. It's fun.
Yeah, you're listening to Money Radio, KKOL, AM 1300, and we're here to share our stories with you. Stories about real people just like you who are buying and selling real estate, building and protecting wealth, and working hard to create a stable financial future for themselves and their families. So if you have a question about real estate or if you need pre-approved for a home loan, we've got people in here. We're going to talk about what happens in that process. We can do that for you. And our new company, I've mentioned it a little bit before, Security National Mortgage Company. I wish it was corporation. I think corporation. Can I say corporation?
Sure.
Or should I say company? It's kind of the same thing.
Down where we're at, we just go Security National. Then everyone knows who
I'll
that
do
is.
that,
And
then.
when we get bigger up here, I imagine just
Security
SNMC
National?
or Security National will probably take hold. But I'll put in a word, corporation. I like that sound.
Okay. Yeah. That's Caitlin. We're going to find out who she is in a second. But she's one of the people that will help with your pre-approval. One of the positions in our company that will help get you pre-approved for a home loan. And that way you're ready to go out with another person we have today, Justin Mitchell.
Hello.
Hello. And find a house. It's going to be really cool. So we get you pre-approved with some of the people we have in the studio here. You're all ready to go. You hook up with Justin. He finds a property. Come back to us, and we add an appraisal and title. And next thing you know, you're at escrow and you're signing and closing on your new home.
Exactly.
So that's the way the process is supposed to go, and that's what we're here for. And we're also here to help you with financial advice, legal advice, investing, retirement, that type of thing. We've got a whole group of really neat people on our website at realestateradionorthwest.com. In our past shows, you can find somebody that's probably got something that pertains to things that you might be having going on in your life right now. And then phone numbers. Don't forget the phone numbers.
Well, if you have a question and you want to ask us anything about
on the website?
Yeah, or you can ask on our website as well. But if you want to just call, it's 888-638-1117 or 888-638-1117.
Nice. That's Shelley Dudley, my right-hand woman. Appreciate that, Shelley. And yeah, that's true. The phone number is good to get directly to us if you want to get pre-approved or if you have a question or want to be guided to one of the people that are in our wheel of professionals.
And then, like you said, we also have a contact form on our website, and you can also get in touch with us on our Facebook page. And while you're there, like us.
Like us, yeah. And check out the video from the fair still. That's up. That's really cool. We're getting lots of hits on that. So
We did have a lot of fun at the fair, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Listen, Real Estate Radio Northwest is part of the Real Estate Radio Network. We're a national network of radio hosts dedicated to the delivery of timely, balanced truths about local real estate markets and current financial matters in an effort to help Americans maintain good credit, minimize debt, and achieve the dream of homeownership. And we're doing this one family at a time, and we're here for you. So if you have a situation that you'd like to run by us, give us a call. 888-638-1117. That's 888-638-1117. Now we'll get to our guest. Shelley.
We've got a whole studio full of them, don't we?
That's Shelley Dudley. And you are Marcy Leishman.
Leishman.
I'm just going to go down the line here as we go. So Marcy Leishman, and you're from Utah.
I'm from Utah.
From SNMC in Utah.
Yes.
We can just call it SNMC. I like that. Yeah. and you aren't really as much in the loan process. So you're here today support for Caitlin, right?
I'm moral support, absolutely.
Nice.
So aside from moral support,
you're
you're also working in an administrative capacity. Is that correct?
I do, and I love it. It's a great company. I've been there for just a few months, but I'm hooked. It's a fabulous company to work for.
Awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, and then next to you we've got Caitlin Pollock.
Yes, hello.
Sounds like a movie star's name, and you look like a movie star too, so that's
well,
cool.
Thanks.
I'm going to really embarrass you
I don't
today.
have a face for radio.
Oh, you don't.
You have a face for the movies.
I would
You
beg
do.
to differ.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And
I'm
you-
happy to be here today.
Yeah, you are one of the people that's actually in the process of getting people through, getting people's loans through.
Yes, so I'm a regional processing manager, so I manage all the processors in our region, but I still also am licensed to originate loans in Utah State, as well as I process loans from other loan officers in our corporation.
So you help oversee that crew of people that when I bring in all of the paperwork and loan application and documentation from the borrower, we give them to you, and you help put that all together and get it ready for underwriting, or your team does.
Yes.
Right, so you're in the middle of the
Yeah, so we
preparation
try
for
to
underwriting?
try to keep one processor with their same loan officer, so they really get a proper handoff working relationship built up.
Yeah.
Also, it's nice for the borrowers to only have one contact person. Some people, like you said, have a team of processors and they call an 800 number and it's faceless. But this you'll work with the same folks for all your transactions, and you really kind of get to know one another.
Nice.
So it's really comfortable to not feel like your information's being shotgun out of there to a 25 people in India. So we're local folks all in a corporate office, and it's really fun.
That's awesome. Yep, and you're helping us here in Washington, and then we've got our own team in Washington as well that runs the same way. So you'll meet the same people and work with the same people.
Yeah. So I was here just this is actually my third trip this year, up training a couple processors at our Everett office, just going over compliance and system changes and things that we're doing. So we've been here since Tuesday. So it's been fun. Yeah. Beautiful weather. We didn't have not a drop of rain that I saw, which
it's
is
been really nice. Yeah, and that's
really neat.
Well, you guys, your weather's a little weird in Utah too.
We've already had snow.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's been pretty chilly.
Well, we just tell everybody that it rains a lot here so that the Californians won't invade us.
Yeah, so they're not get overloaded and crowded with people.
It's like the Iceland, Greenland kind of mix up. I like it.
Yeah. Well,
and then our final guest is Justin Mitchell from Keller Williams, Greater Seattle.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be back again.
Yeah, our listeners will remember that he has been on our show before and was a wealth of knowledge and fun. So go back and listen to that show
we had a
again.
good
But
time.
yes, we did. But we're going to have more fun in the studio today, aren't we?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then with everybody here, let's just get a little bit of each person from what's going on in your life. And Justin, what are you doing lately?
Well, still playing
Anything
rugby.
Exciting? Okay, cool.
Very cool.
Very fun. It's Quake rugby team.
Go Quake.
QuakeRugby.org if you want to come join us. We have a blast. It's really fun. It's a Northwest regional team, so we play teams from Oregon and or throughout Washington. But it's a Division III team. It's really fun. It's a great way to develop athletic skills if you've never played on anything before. We have a vast range of abilities on the team.
Different
so
levels
we start
of
from
talent. Yeah.
this is a rugby ball to guys that have played for 15, 20 years.
And that's a rough sport too. That's like football without pads.
Yeah, he still's got all his teeth. So
Yeah, I do.
Looks like it's going well.
I protect those. I paid a lot of money for them.
So now if a person wanted to come watch you play rugby or wanted to get involved in the team in any way, shape, or form, when's your next match and where?
So actually, our next match is a home match. It's tomorrow at Magnuson Park at, I think, 2 or 2:30. So come out and watch.
That's
It'll be
cool.
fun.
Yeah. What about you, Caitlin? What are you doing in Utah? Anything fun? You got family?
Good old
kids,
Utah.
or?
I'm married. I don't have any kids. I have a dog who is my kid.
What kind of dog?
He's a pit bull.
Oh my gosh.
Tank, my dog, who I love more than most people like their children.
More than your husband, or?
Yeah, he knows where he stands.
Oh,
He's our favorite.
Don't mess with me, man.
Yeah. You know what? He's really protective of me.
Wow, I'll bet.
If Nick and I, that's my husband's name. If we argue,
Yeah.
it works. If we're arguing, Tank will come and sit next to me and growl at Nick. Like, no matter what it's about, Nick's wrong. It's he's my buddy, so no kids.
poor guy doesn't stand a chance.
Nope. He's kind of fun. So just work, and that's
and
pretty much the
outdoorsy
gist.
stuff kind of during the weekends. You guys do stuff outdoor because Utah, you kind of hear that pretty country,
so
kind of like Seattle.
There's lots of
people.
lakes. Skiing, of course, is huge in the wintertime. Snowboarding, that kind of a thing. I wakeboard, so that season
cool.
sadly has come to an end. I skied in my younger years, and I plan to snowboard this year, so we'll see how that goes. But
That's cool.
yeah, just try to keep it athletic. I run. I treadmill run, and I do 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathon.
Wow.
So.
So get all that energy up so you can
Yes.
fly through processing.
That's right.
Keep
Gotta-
things flowing.
Yeah, I spend 12 hours a day sitting in my chair, so when I have a
man.
chance to be jogging around, it's kind of nice.
So our listeners are building a picture of you now. We've said you have a movie star face. You're fit and run 10K.
And Tom said to be nice to you too. Our area manager. He said, "Be nice to Caitlin."
Well, that's good.
So how
And
about
you
you,
didn't say that
Marcy?
about
Did you?
Marcy though?
I know.
That must be open game, Marcy. I
I'm
don't
a
know.
little concerned. I'm going to have a little chat with him about that.
Did you grow up in in Utah?
I did grow up in Utah. I've lived there most of my life. I love it there. And my whole family is there, so that's important to me. I'm a mom of 3 boys.
Wow.
And I'm married to my husband, Rob, and they keep us busy. They are into sports and lots of activities, and that's pretty much my life.
What
Work
ages are they?
Yeah.
My oldest is 18, and then 16 and 14. So my 16-year-old is getting his license here soon, and
Oh my gosh.
terrifies me. I'm still not used to the 18-year-old driving, so.
Wow. And so are they in like football, or what kind of sports do they do?
Yeah, my youngest is in football, and his team is doing amazing. They've only lost one game, so we're excited for playoffs and all of that coming up. And then all three of them are wrestlers. They're good wrestlers, and
they're getting to where they can drive themselves to events now. That's got to probably be a big thing.
Life-changing.
Yeah.
Love it. So it's good. I love being a mom. And I love, I work full-time. I'm like Caitlin, too, like sitting in my chair all day long, but I don't go run 10Ks after. But maybe she'll inspire me.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. It's been neat getting to know you guys, and we'll talk more about business stuff as we get into the next segment. But what's going on in real estate, Justin? Let's get started with what Seattle's doing.
Seattle, of course, is always crazy because it seems like from one day to the next it changes. We had a really good summer. Anybody who is in Seattle shopping for a house this summer will fully understand that it was quite crazy.
It was a busy summer.
Crazier probably than a lot of the other areas in the country. It was.
Yes, and it slowed down a little bit in August, which is natural because kids are going back to school, right?
Yeah,
Seasonal
that's typically, it's a seasonal thing. A lot of people don't want to move. We start heading into Thanksgiving, Christmas window. So like if they have a choice there, probably would prefer not to move. So we still see there's still a lot of properties going on the market, if not even a little bit more than this summer.
Wow, great.
Because we still have so many corporations here, and there's still people that are always needing to sell their property and for various reasons. But the competitiveness has died down a little bit, which is nice.
So for you being more of a buyer's agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's got to make your job and your life a little better.
Yeah, trying to figure out tactics to get clients' houses when there's 8 offers on it. Like how do we
get the competitive edge?
And it's hard too because so many people see the sticker price, so to speak, of when the listing agent lists it. So it's got to try to navigate all of that.
Well, that's cool. We're going to talk a lot more about that, about the loan process, getting started, what you really should do before you go to Justin to buy the house, and then what's going on in Seattle with real estate. So we'll be right back. Real Estate Radio Northwest.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us. You're listening to Real Estate Radio Northwest with your hosts, Nick Neal and Shelley Dudley. Now, here are Nick and Shelley.
Thanks for staying with us on Money Radio, KKOL, AM 1300, Real Estate Radio Northwest with Nick Neal, and this is my cool voice. Didn't you say that Eugenie Jones played last night?
She did, and she's playing again tonight.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
In Pioneer Square. We got to give a shout out to where she's playing at.
I believe
you can't jump into that without saying that's Eugenie Jones right there.
I know.
That's who's singing right now.
Eugenie Jones has an awesome voice.
She's
and
amazing. Good friend.
Yeah, just go to eugeniejonesjazz.com and you can find out where her latest gigs are. But I know she's playing in Seattle the next couple of nights. So.
Nice, yeah. And you saw her last night, right?
I did.
Good show?
It was an awesome show, and the venue was awesome as well. I'll give a shout out to them. We were at the New Orleans Bourbon Cafe.
In Pioneer Square, right?
In Pioneer Square. It was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Her music just kind of relaxes.
beautiful.
She was in the studio, and she's a realtor coach, like a life coach as well. And she actually sung for us a couple times. We did her lead-ins and outs, and then she actually sung over the mic. So back to business. But
There'll be none of that for me.
Yeah, no singing.
You're not going to sing live for us?
No.
Well, in case you're just joining us, this is Nick Neal with Real Estate Radio Northwest. I've got Shelley Dudley, my right-hand woman, and we've got Caitlin Pollock and Marcy Leishman from our corporate offices at SNMC, Security National Mortgage Company Corporation. How's that?
Yes, pleasure to be with you all today.
And we also have
Justin Mitchell. And so what we're going to do now is talk about pre-approval and the process that you'd go through to get ready to buy a home. So it's kind of like getting the key to the house before you go out and find the house, is the way I like to put it. So you know that your loan's going to be in place, your financing settled, you can relax. Get the dentist appointment out of the way. Some people, they relate me to the dentist. I don't like that, but it can be a little stressful getting the loan done. So Caitlin, I don't know where to start. Where would you like to start with?
So the best thing is to truly get pre-approved. If you have someone who says, "Oh, what do you make?" and "Oh, what are your debts?" and they didn't pull your credit and they didn't really look at your tax returns and they didn't ask you 75 questions, I would question their pre-approval. If you truly want to have your loan settled and problems out of the way, you kind of have to dig into it. You have to You have to look at your 2106 expenses, which are your unreimbursed business expenses, and your Schedule C. Maybe you run a multi-level marketing business thing on the side that you claim a loss from because someone told you that was a great idea. That's all things that will impact your borrowing power. And so any changes to your credit card balances, new installment loans, student loans, new cars, obviously, all those things will impact what kind of a home you can get for. Yeah, also, someone needs to be really watching the market for you, because a spike in rates will also change your payment, which will change what we can do for what we call your DTI, which is your debt to income ratio percentage.
Man, you just made my job sound like an important position. Because I'm the guy that's supposed to be doing all this stuff, and we do at our company.
Yes.
We really pay attention, and our pre-approvals are like gold. I mean, they do not fall through. And I really, unless somebody does something extreme like quit their job. I've had car salesmen do that. I don't know why that industry can kind of be somebody that seems like, I got the house, I don't need to work anymore. I'll go, this is the perfect time to do a job transfer. Don't quit your job either, right?
Right.
Midstream.
Right.
Keep everything consistent. We want to take a picture and have that picture stay the same all the way through the loan process.
Correct. In fact, we'll get a verification of employment the day of funding, and even sometimes our investors, when we're selling the loans, will follow up and make sure that you still work there. So yes, you've still got to have your job and your incoming of paychecks to get your home loan.
Yeah, and consistent. And Justin, you were mentioning something about processing, and I really never thought about that from a realtor side, but you kind of see how processors and loan officers work, don't you?
Well, and to touch a little bit on what Caitlin said too, from a buyer side, a lot of times one bank will give you a pre-qualification and another bank will give you a pre-approval. And Caitlin was talking about a pre-approval, which I think is really important, where they're examining all of your documents. It's not just a quick phone call of even just a simple credit run and a few numbers and they spit out a letter for you. They actually are going through, because what I'm seeing in offer negotiations during competition, the listing agent who's selling the house will actually call up the lender.
Yeah, I had that happen to me.
Ask questions to the loan officer of, well, is this a pre-qualification or a pre-approval? And they want to ask more information. How strong is this letter? And if they don't feel confident that it's a strong letter, they may choose to go with somebody else as far as an offer is concerned.
Yeah, we've had to even furnish an underwriting approval based on like what we call pre-qualification, that we've actually underwritten your income, your
as a credit approval. We call that when we do that.
Credit approval.
Yeah,
yep.
A full credit
and so
approval.
if we're really getting into bidding more and it's coming down to the short sale, going to the bank kind of approval, we can furnish, like I said, an offer like that, an approval like that will help your buying power.
Yeah.
So
all you do is add the appraisal and title, basically.
Correct.
And
Yep.
so
Just
you've got the
property
loan,
docs. Yep.
Yeah, property information, and you're ready to go. Yeah, and that is important. It's so important to really get a detailed picture, before you issue that pre-approval letter. And I don't even do pre-qualifications anymore. It just doesn't make sense because there's not so much weight in that. I want it to be a pre-approval to people know, everybody involved with the transaction, that this is a loan that's going to close. Because we've got people with vans, kids, jobs, their lives going on around this transaction, and people have deadlines and times tables that they have to meet. So we've got to be solid that we know that loan's going to close and close on time.
Well, it's important.
Yeah. Justin Mitchell from Keller Williams.
Yeah.
Team Troy.
Well, and it's important to, and the script I always tell buyers when I call them and they want to see a house and they haven't talked to a loan officer yet, I was like, in a competitive market, it's my worst fear is to take you to this house and it's your dream house. It's the house that you've been looking for. It's the house that you want. And it's a Saturday. We can't get you pre-approved until Monday or Tuesday. And we miss our window of opportunity because we put the cart before the horse, basically.
Well, even worse, if there's something we have to work through, if there's some secret collection account, medical collections are notorious for never,
right?
You don't even know about it. And so you can still be shopping for a home, but we're at least working on something that could take us 4, 5, 6 weeks while you're home shopping. If you get under contract, we only have 30 days to meet that contract. And if we have a snag like that, it's really disheartening to find it out after the fact when you're like packing boxes ready to move. Yeah. So it's really good to like talk about it. Is your spouse going to continue working? What kind of expenses are you going to incur? Don't go and buy a house full of furniture on a credit card before you move in.
People do that. They
do it all the time.
You need new furniture for your bigger house. Yeah.
They do it all the time. They just don't understand how it impacts the loan. So it's really important to have a good relationship with your loan officer and your processor to really understand what we're looking for, what you need. And if you have that conversation, borrowers get it. That makes sense. Yeah, incurred some additional debt. You'd have to count it, of course.
Yeah.
But if they don't have that conversation, they don't have that light bulb go off, they're just moving without thinking. So if you have a loan officer who's really inexperienced, one who just thinks that they ran your income versus what your house payment's going to be and thought that that was going to be sufficient, it really isn't. And your closing will be delayed and it will be painful. But if you have that pre-approval process, we already know about your tax returns. We already know about those 2 late payments. We've already got it worked out.
It's not going to be a deal killer a lot of times. We can work through things if we have the timing to do it, because sometimes it takes time, like you said, to research or to document. Those are the critical things that we need to have an understanding of what that issue is and be able to present it on paper to the underwriter so that it can go in the file so she feels secure that there's not going to be something that comes back to bite her, because she's responsible for that file.
Absolutely.
Once it's approved.
Yep.
So,
Yep, it's her name on it.
Get
It's
all
a big
those bugs
liability.
out of the way at first, if there are any.
Yeah, and as long as we can address them and work through it and document, we don't have a problem. We frequently close loans just barely within the MDIA, which is the Mortgage Disclosure Improvement Act, that requires us to have 7 days between your initial disclosures and your closing date. And we'll have loans sit and wait in docs for that thing to finish out, because we have been pre-approved. Everything was done. We were just waiting on our appraisal, and we're closing, and we have plenty of settlement deadlines that we're early for.
That's so cool.
And
Which is
agents
great.
are really glad.
Yeah.
We never have to extend a settlement deadline. We're huge on that. It's like a red file through the office if there was a snag and we're getting close. So
That's why I joined up with you guys. That's it right there. My motto is on time every time. That the bottom line, realtors go, do you have programs? Do you have this? Yeah, well, I've got everything everybody else has. Well, what's your niche? What do you do that's great? I close on time every time. That's it. That's my one flyer. Maybe the one that we've got with the girl with the Superman shirt.
There you go.
Like this. It's kind of the same thing. I thought, wow, that's a little racy for a flyer, but it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
Attractive girl. She's got her suit on and she's going like this, and there's SNMC Superman.
Yeah, she's
under the shirt.
open like her
closing
her
in 10
thing.
days, like that. But that really is important. How nice is it, Justin, to have docs at escrow 5 days before closing?
Well, it works out great. Sometimes it's faster than the sellers expect, which is they're not even out of the house yet. But well, and then Caitlin touched on something we were chatting off air about that at SMSC they SNMC what
Security National
Security
Mortgage.
National
SNMC.
That's Security
It's
National.
a tongue twister.
That the loan officers get assigned to a processor, and from my end too, that's a big deal for buyers, because if they have a working relationship, the loan officer knows how the processor works and knows how they like documents, how they like files delivered to them. So your loan officer can really help you put together a fantastic file that's not going to have as many speed bumps. And, there's that, and then you can get answers very quickly. You have a single point of contact. I mean, and that's huge compared to other lenders that are out there.
Correct. I ran track in high school, and, doing relays, that handoff will totally impact
That's the
your
win
race.
of the race, right?
And so that loan officer processor handoff is huge. It really is important that they know that the loan officer frequently forgets to ask or do this, and so they're checking for it. And it's a working marriage. Yeah.
And we're it's not to say that we don't think about what we do, but it really is kind of a sales job. What I do, it's dealing a lot with people and emotions and trying to connect and understand needs. And to do that, you're in your right brain. I mean, This is the technical cognitive thinking aspect of it that some people are frustrated with, and I just understand and I go with it, and I rely heavily on my processor to help with the situation. But I'm constantly working with people thinking about their needs. For me to jump back and look at W-2s and tax returns and try and analyze numbers, and then jump back into thinking about my clients and trying to connect and make sure everything's working properly, can be tough. So I really rely on my processor a lot of times to help me with that, with the number side and maintaining that efficiency and.
Sure. Well, a loan officer, typically their office becomes their car, because, they are meeting borrowers at coffee shops and running all around. But our processors are actually in an office with a desk and a computer with people they can bounce ideas off of. They don't have, it's not Mayday if it's a sick day. There's people that can cover type of thing. And sometimes we get away from how important that is to have somebody actually available during business hours when your loan officer, might be in a meeting or hosting a training with their realtors, or even out golfing on occasion. So
did you know I went golfing yesterday?
Yes, I
Newcastle.
heard.
Don't do that often, but that was really fun.
But it's a marketing
business.
thing. It is business, and it's important that they're out doing that and sharing the face of our company and helping us grow, especially up here in the Pacific Northwest, so that I can make more trips to visit.
Exactly. Nice,
But then,
yeah.
as Justin said, it's that same consistent person that the borrower is contacting
Correct.
each time. So that's good.
And it's not like calling Wells Fargo that you have to put 17 options to get to somebody who even half speaks English. It's really you'll work with our processor day in and out. Email address, contact information, direct line type relationship that we've got going.
That's really cool. And you can just say the bank, Wells Fargo Bank, and maybe put the music kind of together. But that really is important. And there are a lot of companies, I've been through them, and I've been in management. Always originated. Whether it was a management or not, I'm still a loan originator, and that's my main focus. But there are companies, and I've worked with them, where they do have the rotation, like the banks do, where your processors, you might have 7 or 8 processors. You might have tiers, 1, 2, 3 tier processors that do different responsibilities in a single transaction. I'm not kidding. This is out there. So a 1-tier processor might be able to touch pay stubs and W-2s. A 2-tier might be able to look at tax returns. But only a 3-tier can actually hand that file off to an underwriter. So you got 3 tiers, 7 different 3s processors. With loan officers working with all of them, you get calls from 4 different people asking for a pay stub. I mean, that's literally happened.
That you've already sent twice.
That you've already sent. Yeah. So I just believe in the old school way into doing it, like Justin was talking about. I've got one processor. She's my right hand, and she's able to talk to the borrower. If you're working with a loan officer that says you can't talk to my processor, I'd be kind of leery of that as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Because she's such a critical part.
Absolutely.
You are, Caitlin. You're critical.
Well, thank you.
You bet. Well, we're just heading into a break. That's the music. We'll be right back to talk more about real estate. And it's not as bad as the dentist chair. It really is if you do it up front and handle it, brush your teeth, and floss every day. Be right back. Real Estate Radio Northwest.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us. You're listening to Real Estate Radio Northwest with your hosts, Nick Neal and Shelley Dudley. Now again, here are Nick and Shelley.
We've been easy on Joshua today. We haven't been pushing for any Jetsons or Flintstones, and so he's just playing his nice, moody stuff. I like
love
that.
the music
He's
he
got
chooses.
good taste.
He does have
yeah.
good
I think
taste.
sometimes when we push him, we maybe get into a weird place that I don't know if we want to
Well,
go.
the Jetsons was a little strange.
Yeah, well, we wanted the Flintstones. We didn't ask for Jetsons. Sorry about that. Sidetrack.
I think he was pushing back because we were pushing him.
Exactly. Well, you're listening to Real Estate Radio Northwest on KKOL AM 1300. I'm Nick Neal, your host. I'm here with Shelley Dudley, my co-host, and we've got Marcia Leishman. Is that right? Leishman?
Marcy.
Marcy
Leishman. I know.
Leishman?
Leishman, Lishman. It's all good. I'll answer to it.
From our SNMC, Security National Mortgage Company offices in Utah, and we've got Caitlin Pollock. So you're like a main processing person. You've got a title before process. That means that you manage the processors, right?
Correct. Yes, I'm responsible for
so
training and
you're
managing
big
the
dog.
processor. I don't know about that. I'm chained to
cool.
my desk if I'm a dog.
Yeah. Well, and you've been giving us a lot of good information on important tips to people that they might not think about. They just see the loan officer and he seems like a nice guy, and so they're ready to start working with him. But if you know a little bit more about the transaction and the process when getting a loan, you probably go into it with a little wider eyes and are able to make decisions and see things that might be a concern up front.
Absolutely.
So
It's
we
really
appreciate
important
that.
to have that relationship with your loan officer, that you don't feel stupid to ask a dumb question.
Yeah.
It's your home loan. It's probably the biggest purchase you'll ever make. You need to understand what it entails, and you need to understand the process so that you are protected with your transaction. You're not in trouble having a...
Or not sleeping at night,
Correct.
because you have unanswered questions. We don't want that either.
Right.
So we talked a lot about the details and things that are important when getting pre-approved. So you come to me and we get your paperwork together and we go through the details that you talked about. And then once we get that pre-approval, so basically that's the loan is ready to go. We just need to bring in the property information. And then we hand you over as a Golden Key approved borrower to Justin Mitchell with Team Troy, Keller Williams.
And he's a buyer's
Greater
agent.
Seattle,
I
a
know,
buyer's
I-
agent, which works perfect. We
love-
got the whole deal here.
Yep.
So then Justin takes the handoff, and then you've got this pre-approved, ready-to-go borrower, and then what do you do with them, Justin?
Well, first of all, that makes my life so much easier because I'm comfortable with that. So I know that I don't have to worry about that's set in stone. So,
Justin, do you find that your pre-approved buyers have a competitive edge in the...
well, it's almost an expectation. I mean, it's just the degree of the pre-approval, like we talked about before. So that's the part that's important. Like, it's going to help the buyer, it's going to help the loan officer, it's going to help me. Just getting as much documents to the bank when you get that pre-approval is going to help so much. But so I work with just buyers. I specialize in buyers. I'm part of a team. I'm Team Troy with Keller Williams. nwhomesearch.com in case you want to come check us out.
Get your information
Yeah,
out there.
definitely.
We working with a team is fantastic because we all kind of specialize in our niche, just like Caitlin was talking about on the lender side. So we have a gal that was here last week that does just investments, Angela Correa. And we have another buyer's agent. We have a marketing person, a transaction coordinator, and then our CEO, Troy Anderson, takes care of all of our listings. So you get a whole team for the price of one.
That's amazing.
For the price of one agent. So
and concierge services and moving vans, help with staging. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, so we do. I mean, we offer free rekey, and when you buy your house, you get a free home warranty that we pay for. We have access to a moving truck for free. So we have all these concierge services that we do to try to set ourselves apart from the other teams and agents that are
That's
out
a
there.
big deal. That's great. Those home warranties are come in handy.
And it's a great closing gift. We actually just treat it as a closing gift. It's a nice way to just do a standard closing gift for all of our clients. And then we have a rekey company that comes out and rekeys up to 4 locks, so they get a fresh key for their new house that's just to them. So there isn't any copies of an old key lingering around somewhere.
I never really thought of that, but that's important.
That's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
It's a peace of mind to say, okay, well, now you get your own fresh, brand new key that's just for you. So it's kind of a nice way we kind of close the deal. But so now that I have pre-approval in hand, we start looking for properties, and we talked a little bit about how the market is. The traffic has kind of slowed down a little bit in Seattle, but things that are priced appropriately and nice, of course, are still going quickly. So it's very important to have that pre-approval, and also to do your research and understand the market. And I can, as you work with a buyer's agent, they fill you in on all that information too, because everything is always, you have to take it at face value. We were talking a little bit off air about like the listing price on a house. That isn't necessarily what the house is worth. It could easily have been a tactic on the selling side to get more offers. Yeah, so, but there are so many buyers, when they're shopping, they look at that number and they're so focused on that number that when you have to go back and tell them, well, this is actually worth $30,000 more than they're asking for it. So
you're talking about the bait and switch, not bait and switch, but the California thing of listing a little low to get a bidding war started.
Right. So it's better that than, from a seller side, it's better to do that than the opposite, which is to try to push the boundaries and potentially plague your property where you've overpriced it, so now nobody wants to come see it because they know that it's overpriced. Because you send this message that you might not be willing to negotiate, or, so from an agent's perspective, when I see a property that's really overpriced, I might not even go show my clients to it because they're being unrealistic. I don't even want to mess with that.
Well, or even if we get an appraisal that's low, and that really can hurt your turn time for your transaction, having to renegotiate a purchase price when you're kind of already sold on it is hard too. So it's good to have an agent who really knows the area and can tell you what things are really going for, conservatively, what they're really worth.
Well, because I've actually had deals fall apart over appraisals.
Sure.
And then from a buyer side, if you get an appraisal done and then the deal falls apart, if you don't end up closing with that lender or something, there's a cost that are accrued. So if we aren't
$500 or $600.
$500 or $600, then up to $1,000, depending on how expensive the house is and how big the house is. So really understanding that market, putting together a competitive offer once you find that property, and realizing that the sticker price isn't the end all. Isn't the end all
We're
be all.
seeing now.
It's not written in stone.
I was just over at your office last night with Carol Ann Sinclair, one of the people that you work with there.
Yeah.
And we were looking at the closed transaction percentages. And I've seen that before, but they seemed even a little bit higher this time, where 101, 102% of the asking price was the average sales price.
Yep.
So not only are some people pricing their houses low and they're getting a bit above, that's the norm that you're seeing.
Of course, in certain neighborhoods, there's the standard kind of really popular neighborhoods in Seattle, like Wallingford, Ballard, Queen Anne, where the market was so crazy for a few months there. Agents, you do a market analysis, and the market analysis says the house is worth this much, and you price it at that. But there was so little inventory on the market in Seattle. There's 8 couples that are waiting for that house to come on the market, and so it creates this hysteria of.
Yeah, so that's part of it too. Then
So even if
strategy.
the historical data says that it's supposed to be worth this much, I mean, really, a property is worth what a person's willing to pay for it, and hopefully their
Very true.
lender supports
Yeah.
the how much they want to pay for
Yeah,
it.
that is weird, and that's kind of a weird dichotomy with appraisers and what they have to work out with past data, because they're going back to get an appraisal
Right.
based on the last 6 months or so with comps of properties that have sold. But you'd think really the market should be the one to really tell what a property is worth. The market value is what we talk about.
Right.
But the appraiser is kind of restrained by what he can find for his comparable sales in the area that relate to that house. So not really defending them when they come in low, but really they have restrictions and guidelines they have to follow. So if there's a really nice house that has some features that the other houses that he's able to find as comps don't have, you can see that sometimes where you're just not able to support the appraised value.
And I think you're also interpreting the market too. So like I would assume from an appraisal standpoint, you're looking at the historical data, but if it's on an upward echelon, you're at, if there's a trend that's happening and the market is going up, you look at the historical data, but at the same time you have to factor in what's currently under contract that hasn't sold yet. Of course, that they're not going to tell you what the price is, but to kind of see where that house fits in with the market trend, not just the history. I don't want the appraiser's job that one.
No.
Yeah, it's tough because they have to use closed comparables.
Yeah.
It means homes that have actually closed and funded with a buyer,
Yeah.
and then they can use listings. But if people are listing their home low, then what it
That's
actually
gonna be
ends
the
up
same
selling for,
situation.
it's kind of a
Yeah.
interesting dynamic for sure.
Yeah, they don't have an easy job at all. They don't.
So what happens? You're out with clients and you find the perfect house. Take us a little bit through the process once you found the property.
I mean, that's probably one of my, with working with buyers, I try to work with them to put together the most attractive package, the strongest, cleanest package we can. Starts with a great pre-approval. I use letters frequently.
From the buyer?
From the buyer.
Personalized,
including
that's
a
cool.
photo.
Pictures of the kids, their dogs.
Yeah, like a family photo from a
Nice.
vacation.
I
Because-
like it. That's
I do
good.
too. I do too.
Well, a lot of people that are selling their houses, and it's a case by case basis. I try to be attentive when talking to the agent. I try to make friends with the listing agent so that I have a little bit of an upper hand. But understanding why the sellers are selling their house, and then I kind of coach them when they write that letter. I'm like, well, make sure you touch on all the improvements that the listing agent told me that they did, and how much you love them, and that's talk about some of the same reasons why they love that house and are perhaps having a difficult time selling it, which is often, you're...
I really didn't think
Yeah.
of that, but yeah, you're leaving a piece of your life. That's where
A
your
big
kids grew
piece.
up. It feels like, who are we leaving this to live next door to the Mr. and Mrs. Jones? And
Yep, you're leaving
that's
your
big.
neighbors and your kid's original school district. It's, so...
It can be 30 years, a couple
Yeah,
generations
sure.
even sometimes.
Or if it's estates, so,
Parents' house.
it's a parent's house and you've got kids that are having to sell it as part of an estate, all things like that. And it's just...
It's emotional.
And of course, everybody negotiates a little bit differently, and I tell people this, that I'm very much a catch more bees with honey type of negotiator. I try to be transparent and upfront and, just with the agent, with my clients, and it's like, they really want this house. I'm doing my best to try to put together this offer, but, we're willing, work with me here and talk to me, and a lot of times that definitely ends up working in not only my favor, but for my clients as well,
Nice.
especially in competitive situations.
Justin Mitchell with Team Troy at Keller Williams Greater Seattle is talking about how he treats buyers and makes that connection with the seller on a personal level to help them get the deal.
Well, it's just tactics. I mean, because what I saw a lot over the summer was buyers getting burned out. So not only are not very many houses going on the market, it just feels like every single one is swept up from underneath you. Like somebody just grabbed the rug and like, psh.
Well, you get your hopes up. You imagine yourself living there. You check out the schools, the restaurants, the things, and you
Show
do that.
your kids the bedrooms. I
Yeah.
had that happen with a
Yeah,
guy 3 times.
what color are you gonna
before they
paint it?
finally
What
got the
time are you
8-year-old out
gonna-
of the bedroom. Yeah.
And then you're in
That's
multiple
hard.
offer situation and you lose it. And so when you get people that have kids that are starting schools, and they start to feel the pressure, and sometimes they will write big checks over asking, even if if the appraisal doesn't come back. Sometimes they're ready to write a big check because this is the house we want, and if this is what we have to pay for it, we're willing to do it, because they just get burnt out and they're done. So I really try to coach people to prevent that from happening, but sometimes there's just factors that you just can't surpass to be able to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, gosh, we're getting into a break here. Real Estate Radio Northwest. Justin Mitchell from Team Troy talking about how he works with his buyers really on a personal level. We'll be right back after the break.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us. You're listening to Real Estate Radio Northwest with your hosts, Neal and Shelley Dudley. Now, here are Nick and Shelley.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Northwest on KKOL AM 1300. I'm Neal, your host, and I've got Shelley Dudley with me here, my co-host, and we've got Marcy. Oh no, I put it right away. Marcia Leisman.
Leishman. Yes,
Leisman.
that's it.
And Caitlin Pollock.
Yes, hello.
And and good. Just let it play, Joshua. That's okay. That's good music. Yeah, I can talk over music. I like that. Makes me feel like a rock star.
And
Justin Mitchell.
I was just going to say, our final guest is Justin Mitchell
from Detroit. Keller Williams. And a lot of passion today. This is awesome. Caitlin was like, "Oh, am I getting too passionate?" I'm like, "No, you can't be too passionate. Your job's important to you, and our clients are important to us. It's good to see that passion."
I feel like it's a big help with people, and I get passionate about your life. You're moving. It's important to you, so it's important to me.
Yeah, well, and then Justin brought something up too. Like the perfect storm, or the trifecta of things coming together. And I've heard it called the affordability index, and I think that's a great one because there is actually an index where they relate interest rates to house purchase to median income. You know, everything that comes together to buy a house. How expensive is it to you? You know, the buyer, relating to your job and to the other things that you have in your life. And that's at the lowest point ever. So, you know, based on today's income, where interest rates are at and home prices are at, we've been at this lowest range of affordability for people. And so it really is a good time to buy, right, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying that was probably the most common question I get when I talk to friends or new clients is this really a good time to buy? And so...
So is it a good time to buy?
Yes, the answer is yes. Yes, it's a good time to buy.
It's a great time to buy. Why? Tell
so
our
we
listeners why.
touched a little bit before on the current market in Seattle. We've got a little bit more inventory coming on the market than in the summer, and less buyers. So it's slightly less competitive. You're going to have more choices to pick from. And then I'm actually going to toss this over to Caitlin. We were chatting about interest rates because a lot of buyers out there don't realize how a quarter of a point or a half a point increase in interest can decrease your buying power, going, you know, whether it's 300 down to 280. I mean, it can really affect it. And most buyers don't realize that as those rates change.
Yeah, the buying power as well is what your monthly payment's going to be, what you can afford on a mortgage.
People don't realize that you're...
Just so they know who Caitlin is, our processing op manager. So she is really an important person and
thank you.
Knows the information.
People don't realize that your house payment actually is made up of what we call PITI, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And so you really need to be in constant contact with your loan officer about where you're shopping for. You know, if you're shopping in a county where taxes are particularly high, then you probably want to go with a little bit of a smaller purchase price, or we need to come up with some money so that we can buy down the rate or watch for a really good day to lock so that you can still afford it. I mean, we need to give you a good idea of what you can afford, what kind of a house payment, and factor in what impacts that, which is, of course, your purchase price, your loan amount, so what size of down payment you're going to be able to put in, your interest rate will affect, obviously, your principal and interest portion of that. But your taxes and your insurance are also a big thing. And then any HOA fees that you have.
Homeowners Association.
Yes. Yeah. So all of that is what we call your PITI, your full housing payment that we use to calculate what we'll do on your housing ratio based on what your gross income is to basically what your house payment can be, your total housing expense can be. So it's really important to find, this house has a pool. Well, your insurance will be more expensive. So just those kind of things. We can't decide that, you can afford $300,000.
Yeah, it's really hard to put a number on when you bring in that other stuff because taxes can be a big factor. It's amazing.
They are.
Especially with the market and the way property values have shifted. You got short sales. You have some properties that are really underpriced for some reason, but their assessed value is high. So you get this $200,000 house with $375 a month property taxes. I've seen that.
Yes, you do.
Because it was assessed at $450.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it depends on where in the county it is. I mean, it really does impact it. So it's important to be speaking with your agent about that, and that you keep in constant contact with your loan officer as your life changes. Did you get a raise? Did you actually, switch jobs? Are you having to buy a second car? I mean, if there's things, we just constantly need to look at it while you're shopping for your home to make sure that it's still looking good. And it's always a good time to buy, especially now. I mean, home prices have not inflated like they were in the big crash. So they're still on the low trend, and rates are incredible. I mean, I remember my parents' first house, I think, was at 14.5%
I think
interest
my dad's
rate.
was something like that too, like 14.
And they still bought.
It was a VA
The
loan
Jimmy
too.
Carter era. Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, I mean,
I had my busiest summer at 8.9. Interest rates were 8.9 back in the early 90s, late 80s, and
So it'd
we
be
were super busy.
discussing threes and
Fours
fours.
threes?
I mean,
Really? It's like free money.
yes.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the
money,
banks get free money. Ours is a little.
That's right,
We got to pay
yeah.
a little for ours,
but still,
But
money
that's still
costs
really low.
money. So, I mean, an interest rate of that, it is really important. It really does impact, like you said, your affordability index is really important. It's really a good
and
time.
just on the trending of rates, lately we've been going along sort of a low range here. We were down almost to 3.25 at our lowest point on a 30-year fix when everything really looked, negative for the economy. All the things came together. Factors. There weren't any inflation concerns. Unemployment was still looking bad. The GPI and consumer price indexes were low. So when all of this negative information comes out on the economy side, people put their money into bonds. Just a little background is how the interest rates fluctuate. But this is an international thing. So you've got China, you've got Japan, you've got the other countries putting money into U.S. bonds to be able to bring rates down, and the U.S. government putting money into MBS, mortgage-backed securities,
yeah.
which is a lot smaller market. So when the government puts money in and then the other countries are buying, the government has enough weight to actually suppress those rates, and they're continuing to do that. And we just found out they're going to continue, so they say, to do that through 2014. So barring any outside influences like inflation or Greece exploding or China, having some kind of an issue with trusting U.S., we should continue to see low rates through 2014. But it's not a given, and they do fluctuate daily. And a quarter point can mean the difference between being able to qualify for a house or not. So
Absolutely.
rates are, like you said, just an important thing to keep an eye on, too.
So, I mean, in putting all those pieces together, I mean, with what Caitlin and Nick said, I mean, it really is, if you can manage it around all of your holiday
Makes
activities.
it sound complicated now. Yeah,
but
into Christmas.
it's a great time to buy. I mean,
It
it's,
is.
and Caitlin also touched on HOAs, and HOAs are a very interesting discussion in Seattle because you'd be surprised how much they can vary.
And those
from
aren't
one
just for condos, right? You can see
No.
those in other areas.
They can be in neighborhoods. They can be in, that have, shared parks or spaces that need to be maintained. But it's the condos where I see the huge, differentiation between it. You'd be amazed. You can go from one building and have $250 a month HOAs, and you can go to the building next door and have $650 a month HOAs.
Oh my, that's a huge difference.
I think the highest I've seen was $850.
Wow.
The First Hill Plaza, the tower on First Hill, the penthouse was on the market for a while, and I think the HOAs were $5,000.
Oh my God.
Oh my. Well, that's important. It's part of your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to pay that every month. Yeah,
And
for
even-
your common ground.
Yeah, and I'm planning for mortgage insurance. So if you're,
Yeah.
under
Oh, yeah,
80%
that's
loan
another
to value,
point.
that also comes
you're
into
above
play
80.
with your.
Yeah.
Your
So
buying
just
power.
having good people, it really, if you've got a team working with you, then you can focus on getting the house and the important things and know that all of these other decisions are being helped and taken care of for you.
Mm-hmm.
When we even said we're a little slower, through the holidays, where our refis will be a little bit down because people aren't thinking about that while they're Christmas shopping.
Right.
So it's a good time to buy. You might not
Get
have
your loan done quicker.
Yeah, you might not have the competitiveness with other people shopping too.
Right.
So it's always a good time.
Yeah. Well,
So-
we're just about getting into the end of the show.
And
So,
I was just going to say,
yeah.
with home prices so low right now, but trending upward, a person's only going to see an increase in value
Equity,
and an
absolutely.
increase in
Yeah.
Well,
equity.
Seattle's always been a really strong market as far as, aside from the crash, but, it's always been a strong market. So it's a good place to buy property either way.
Yeah, well, it's sure been nice to have you guys. It's been fun today.
Thank you
Good
very
having
much.
Thank all of you for
Caitlin and
joining us.
Justin. Yeah. Full
Thank you so
studio. And you
much.
too, Shelley. That was really a neat show.
It was
A
fun.
lot of good information and a lot of passion. We're passionate about our jobs, and we really want to take care of you guys. Real
Yes.
Estate Radio Northwest, AM 1300, KKOL Money Radio. Be back next Saturday at 2 o'clock. Have a great weekend.